Hi, welcome to the Travel Pack. I am Sojourner Sue. Today I'm going to tell you a little bit about my backstory and where I'm at right now before I start my full-time journey living with 2 dogs and 2 cats in a 26-foot motorhome. After 20 years as a teacher, I ended up getting a new career which allows me to work remotely. And sometimes I need to be on site, but I don't have an office. So that allows me some flexibility. I do own a home, but I'm renting it out right now. And so when this new change came about, I decided rather than rent another house or kick out my renter, which I really don't want to do because she's one of my best friends, I decided to get an RV and check out that lifestyle for a while. I've always been adventurous. When I was in college, I went and lived in Germany for a year as part of my studies. In 2018, I decided to move to Costa Rica for what I told people was for a year. My plan was for life. It ended up being 3 years. It was a great place to ride out the pandemic. I met some really amazing people. And when I came back to the States in 2021, I started teaching again. Well, I love teaching. I've been looking for something to do that's a change of pace while still being really meaningful. And so I ended up finding a position as an associate director for a nonprofit foundation, which I am really so proud to be a part of. And I'm sure I'll talk a lot about that in future videos. But what it's done for me in the meantime is allow me to live the nomad lifestyle. And when you have dogs and cats, I can't just whisk off to Costa Rica or Mexico or Greece or wherever. It's just a logistic nightmare. So I love to travel, and one of my dreams has been to travel all over the United States in an RV. So why not do it now while I'm not too old and my body still works for the most part, and just go and check out some different places. I can also follow the sunshine and avoid the sweltering heat. So that will be part of my journey as well, is how can I plan out my trip according to the nicest weather possible as far as my standards go, and how can I manage all of this working and with 2 dogs and 2 cats. So welcome to my journey, and I'm so glad that you're here along for the ride. A little bit about my fur family. My oldest is Buster. He is a 10-and-a-half-year-old French Bulldog, Boston Terrier with a little pinch of English Bulldog in there. He lived with me in Costa Rica for 3 years. He has moved a lot, and so I feel like this is going to be super easy for him. It's just another adventure with mom. My next oldest is Juno, and she is 50% pug, 30% American Bully, 20% pit bull, and 100% Juno. Juno what? But yes, Juno is, she keeps us all on the go. She is my marathon runner if she could be. If she had a person who was a marathon runner. I am not a runner. But she makes sure that we get out for nice long walks all the time. If Buster's spending too much time just lounging around, she makes sure that he gets a little play session in. And so she is the little spark plug of the family. The next oldest is Gary, and Gary is a Savannah cat mix. I wasn't planning on getting a cat. I had 2 very reactive dogs, and cat reactive specifically. Well, not specifically, but also. So I really didn't see having a cat in the cards until after the dogs, but I've always had either a cat or a dog or both, and I was just kind of missing that kitty cat companionship too. So I worked with Matt Beisner, who you may know from Dog Impossible on the Disney Channel. And he gave me some amazing tips to get my dogs less reactive when it comes to cats specifically. And so I started working on those with the dogs long before I had any plan of actually getting a cat. And one day I was at the pet store, and or that sounds like where you used to go to, like at the mall where they had like dogs in cages and stuff. You know, I went to PetSmart, not sponsored, but prefer them over the other guys. And one of the things I do, I was there to get dog food, but I always walk around and visit all the animals who are there. So the birds and the chinchillas and the lizards and the snakes and whoever else they have, the fish. And this particular PetSmart had a partnership with a local shelter, animal shelter. So they always had a great rotation of cats and dogs who were available for adoption. So I always stopped in to say hi to them. And as I turned down the aisle on that day, our eyes met, mine and his, and we both, it was love at first sight. This kitty, how could you not love him? Oh, I'll get into his whole backstory another time. Needless to say, I went in for a bag of dog food and I came out with a bag of dog food, a bag of cat food, a whole bunch of cat supplies, and Gary. His name was like Biscuit or some kind of like food name at the shelter. And he was just so gregarious that I was like, it's going to be Greg or Gary for the gregarious. But I like 2-syllable names for my animals. So I guess I have that tism. So Gary it was, Gary the gregarious. And he is such a lover. So that was my family. I'll talk about how I introduced Gary to the dogs and the dogs to Gary. It was not just, hey guys, here's the cat, and throw the cat in the house. I know you can do that, but I went for a little more controlled introduction for everybody's safety and comfort. And then one day when everybody was hanging in the house, the dogs were doing one of their favorite activities, looking out the screen door in the front, and Gary had joined them, and it went Juno, Buster, space Gary. And I took a picture because they were so cute. But when I looked at this picture, I realized something's missing. Buster has his look-alike kitty. I think Juno needs a little tuxedo kitty to have her look-alike. So I looked when I was at PetSmart again, and there wasn't the right kitty there. So I went to the shelter, which is where Gary was from, and they had the most adorable little 6-month-old, which is like my favorite age to get cats. 6-month-old tuxedo kitty, Maine Coon mix, big old ears with teensy little tufts. They called him Tupac Shakur, which I absolutely love. I wanted to go with the human name since Gary, well, I guess Tupac was a human, but a more common human name. He was cats are curious, but he was a little mischievous. It still is. It's one of my favorite things about him. So he ended up being Dennis the Menace, or Denny for short. So Denny and Gary are about 6 months apart in age. I got both of them at around age 6 months. So they're both, they're 2.5 and 2. And that's my fur family. You'll get to know them very well, everything about them, because this is not just going to be all glitz and glamour. It's going to be shits and cat fur. So come on along for the ride.